Hey guys, this is John. Welcome to another using the clock as a weapon video. My opponent opens with knight f3. Let's play b6. This is the very first game. I'm going to take this knight because I like doubling the opponent's pawns. And we're going to go from there. We're going to see if my opponent wants to do something similar, perhaps. e4. Okay. Well, let's play bishop g7. Now, I think this pawn on f4 could be subject to attack in the future. At least that's what I'm hoping. But for the moment, knight c6 maybe? I need to block this. So I'm hoping that f4 becomes a target. But we shall see. Bishop h6 invites e6. Maybe I could castle then, though. That's interesting. Bishop h6. No, let's just castle right away. Let's do that immediately. Okay, knight a3. Unusual position already. Very unusual. Let's play a5. a4, keep pushing. So I didn't get to target this pawn like I wanted, but I think otherwise the position looks kind of nice. So I got to solve this issue of my knight on c6. I'm sort of pondering that placement. Let's try to send the queen to a6. Maybe I can generate some pressure against a2. But I got to watch stuff down the g file. Maybe that capture on h5 could hurt me at some point. Or a capture on h5. Yeah, white's trying to destabilize me here. But for the moment, this looks okay. Need to repair my situation on the clock. Let's go queen a5. Defend the knight. Yeah. Okay, knight f4. Weird position, that's for sure. My rook is hanging, but white doesn't want to take it. White wants to attack. And I feel like I should do the same. Well, let's go here. And now maybe this knight to d5? Way down on the clock. I don't like it, but I'm trying to find a way to stabilize. Trying to find a way to either get counterplay or stabilize. Maybe b4, I've got something going towards a2. Okay. Just take this way. Takes maybe h6. Maybe. I could have played b4 there. I wasn't quite sure, though. Rook takes h7. I don't want to tempt fate. Bishop e4. So is white just going to try to barrel through? Rook takes h7? Well, I'm going to play this and see what happens. Rook takes h6. Whoa. Really? Okay. Rook a3. This must be good. I'm going to go here. Covering the h3 square, so there's no rook to h3 to defend b3. This is clever, I think, because if takes, I take with the pawn. That must be good. Let's play this capture. And if knight takes a3, rook c8. I'm going to let this knight hang. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, rook check. And then take. Take. Which way to take? Let's take this way. Take here. Check. Take. And push. Let's go here. Oh, there's queen c1. Queen c1, bishop h6, though, perhaps. Didn't see that move. Yikes. Gotta go here, I guess. This is massively complicated. Probably white takes now, yeah. Just trades queens. Yeah, the time got me on that one. That was a fun game, though. But the time got me. Let's rematch, see if my opponent wants to play. Nope, declined. Okay. So let's look for a new 3-minute. Maybe I'll go back and look at that one. I think on a practical level, perhaps I got too complicated when I took on b3. Maybe I should have taken with the queen instead of the pawn, but we'll take a brief look afterwards. Oh, let me chalk up the loss. We're playing my favorite Scandi. Let's go. The queen a5 Scandi playing a 27-67. Just got to put that last game in the past. But yeah, I did not use the clock as a weapon there. I think it took me a little too long to get my head around the position, but my opponent just kept up the moves. So that's what I want to try to do, what my opponent did in that game, because towards the end, it was just a crapshoot on the board, and the time really mattered. So now my opponent's thinking for almost 30 seconds in a pedestrian position here. Most likely they have connection problems, although it doesn't say so. Okay, let's go c6. I'll play e6. This is all standard. Knight b d7. You can throw in h6 too, if I think I actually will, just so if knight h4, I can play bishop h7. Let's go queen back. And let's take with the pawn. Let's spice this up. Open the G file. Dare white to maybe do something drastic. Because now I've got rook hg8 coming in, bishop takes g3. It's nothing super special, but, you know, white already has to start thinking about some stuff. Let's see if white plays c5 and dares me to take on g3, because they might... Yeah, they don't do that, but they might be able to get away with that in some cases. So let's think here. c5 might be good. Because if takes, knight takes, and then I'm threatening knight into b3. Trying to keep my bishop here. Okay, let's go takes. Assuming knight takes, maybe bishop e4. And if f3, I think I can probably crash through. So yeah, it goes there. Let's take. And knight e5 or queen c6 maybe. Let's go queen c6. So I was thinking knight e5 here. Oh, but then takes. Okay, so let's retreat the bishop. Okay, knight e5. Kind of forces queen d1 almost, right? Queen d1, but then rook d8, and that looks like trouble. Rook d3 is a threat. Ah, there's this move. Okay. Even still, what about this? Because now I just take. And that's going to be a piece. We'll take it. This should be a win, so long as I keep my head. Never can chalk it up. I'm going to keep it simple. There is bishop takes f6 here, but I'm going to try to keep it simple. Play like this. And now, yeah, let's take here. Bring this rook up. Take. Take. That should do the trick. Stabilize. Start pushing the b pawn next, most likely. Maybe get up the king a little bit. I think I can start pushing right away. Okay, so they want that passed pawn on the outside. Let's go here. And now maybe this move. Yeah, let's go bishop here. Bishop e7, bishop c3, I'm thinking. kind of trap white's rook in. Take. King d7, bishop f8. Let's go g4. I was thinking here. Bring up the king. Check. Take and king here. Okay, and that should do it. Little bit of a tricky conversion there because of that passed pawn on the outside, but I think it did a pretty good job, all things considered. Okay, so we move to an even score. Sure, I'll take a rematch. Let's do it. Let's play e4 in this one. Maybe some Sicilian action. Let's play a Rossolimo. Seems to be trendy these days. Okay, I'll castle. Rook e1. Play it like a Ruy Lopez. Maybe work up to d4. A lot of times they take early on c6. I don't really know the theory here too well, but this looks plausible, so we'll play it like this. And I expect take d5. Yeah, because black wants a foothold in the center. And now maybe h3, knight c3 suggests itself too, but let's go h3. Let's stop any bishop g4 shenanigans. See how black wants to develop. Maybe queen b6. Yeah. Now, do I take the knight or keep developing? I think I'm going to take the knight now and play knight c3. Just to spur my development on. And now bishop a3 looks like it could be a little annoying for black. Hit that pawn on e7, maybe anchor in bishop c5. Yeah, so black has a similar idea, getting the bishop over there. But yeah, I like this. I like the look of this. E6 even? E6 I think makes some sense. Let's go for that. Ugh, f6, it's ugly. Okay, let's play queen c2 to start. Yeah, I mean, I feel like black should be somewhat tied down to e7, but they want to go queen a6. But okay, let's go here first. And then I'm going to go here to guard d3. Oh, I didn't see that move, though. Ugh. All right, go back. When in doubt, go back. Now those bishops are sort of slicing in. Bishop d3, maybe bishop e4. Yeah, okay. Try to get some play for my pieces. Maybe knight g4. Still, black's somewhat tied down, even though I clearly made a mistake with rook e3. But keep the moves going. Keep the pressure on. I don't feel like I should be really worse. Okay. Queen c1, maybe? I'm going to dare black to take on a2, because I think I can get something going towards their king. Or take on c3 even. It's usually better to be on the attack in these positions. So now I'm thinking knight h6 and then knight f7. Just get another piece towards their king. It's not even really important that it doesn't do much yet. Let's go here. Queen d7, bishop takes e7. Okay. Okay, there's knight d6 maybe. Kind of a peculiar move. Let's play that using the pin. Kind of forces rook a8. which is really odd. I don't know what I do after that. Knight b7, maybe? Rook back to e8, and then queen d7? How strange. But it's burning time for black to find this stuff. I might even throw in rook e3 if I get a chance. I think rook e8 is almost forced because bishop takes e7 looks very unpleasant for black. Tick-tock. I don't know if they're going to find it. You know what I'm going to do? Rook e8, I'll play knight d6. Okay, they're going to let that hang. So let's take. Surprised they didn't play rook e8. Yeah, because now I'm towards their king. The knight's coming back to d6. The e-pawn is loose. This should be an easy win now. Let's just play knight over. And look at that. I've got a full extra minute here when the game winds down. Okie doke. Chalk that one up. Yeah. Okay. So we got 2 games with that opponent. Let's look for a new one. Some sharp games here. I'm liking this. By the way, I think when it shows you a board like that, that's not your own board. I think what it's showing you is actually the other person's board, as far as I understand. So if you're curious why when it loads like that at the start of a game, why it looks different, I think that's why. So kaidenkirklannd. Okay, let's play just a standard Queen's Gambit. Declined. Whoa. Now plays bishop e4? That's weird. Strange. Okay, let's go queen c2. Black could try something aggressive with g5, but it seems maybe not in their best interest to do that. And bishop e7, bishop e4 is very, very strange. Maybe black mouse slipped bishop e7. Maybe they're usually a Rossolimo player. You never know. Okay, let's jump into e5. I think f3 now is starting to look concerning. f3, knight d6 is what you're telling me. Okay, let's play c5 first then. What are you going to do about that move? So that's a little backwards thinking there. Black was going to meet f3 with knight d6, so let's take away knight d6 first and see how they deal with that. Doesn't look easy. Yeah, now they're going to lose a pawn. Shouldn't be the end of the world for black, but that does look like a pretty clear pawn. Queen d5, trying to jam things up a bit. Okay, I'm just going to take my material. And then, maybe knight back. Let's go there. Okay, we'll invite multiple trades. Just try to play a rook ending up a pawn. Takes that way, though. Okay, I'll take like this. And now I want my rook on the b file. But first I need to make some position building moves. Playing a little slow. Let's go knight e2. b6 is coming. b6 is kind of annoying. Okay, black doesn't play it. Let's advance. Ooh, okay. Yeah, black's doing me a few favors here. Still hard to capitalize, though. I feel like I need something kind of sharp. F4, maybe? F4, bishop takes, rook 8, rook g1. Let's play f4. I don't like what's happening on the queen side. I think b6 can be played, and my structure gets sort of wonky no matter what. I really need to pick up the pace now. So we're going to play like this. And I want to take on g5 with check. Maybe I should have used the other rook. Yeah, I probably should have used the other rook. so I can play h3 safely, but too late now. Oh, and black's agreeing to trade. Okay. Okay, I like what's happening here, but let's by no means get complacent. Take this. And now, rook d7. Let's play c6. Rook h8, though. Yeah, my technique is really leaving something to be desired here, guys. And rook h3, yeah. Very poor how I played this. Now I don't know. Not sure what's going on. So black can play king d6. I think I got to put my hopes on the h-pawn. Rook takes e3, h4. Hope for the best with this. I don't know if going for the a-pawn is right. Fortunately for me, my opponent's also making a lot of mistakes. Yeah, now they go back. Yeah, they're just way too slow here. Okay, that's definitely not going to cut it. What a weird game. I felt like I made so many mistakes in that game. And look, I don't want to chalk it up too early, but I should be able to get the job done here. Check. Okay. Yeah, I made so many mistakes in that one, but somehow it worked out. That's another game I want to check out after we play our final game. But we'll take it, and let's keep this going. Let's look for one game. This is the last game of the session. Boy, these games go quick. Okay, target to the top. Let's play e4 again. It worked a couple games ago, so let's play e4 once again. We get a Petroff. Yeah, I don't have anything special here. Let's just play knight c3. This is all huge theory. Queen d2. Yeah, lots and lots of theory here. Bishop d3. King b1, almost always a useful move. Yep, c5. I remember a Fabiano versus Magnus game with this type of thing from their World Championship in 2018, I believe. Good session, so let's try to end it on a positive note. Target the top, going into the tank. This looks like it's still theory, if I were to guess. But black is thinking, I'll take it. Okay, let's just centralize. I could go for some kingside attack, but I feel better just centralizing and playing something a little more strategic. Let's go bishop f4. Invite a capture. No capture. H3 or maybe rook e3 makes some sense. Rook e3, there's knight h5, among other moves like bishop f8, but let's let black figure it out. I'm just going to double. Probably rook e8 will be played. Pretty boring, but I'm up 30 seconds. Okay, let's go h3. Okay, so if I take and take on d6, can I get away with that? Doubtful. Doubtful. Let's go g4. Rook takes, maybe? Let's play rook takes, try to pressure d6. There is knight e4. I'm leaving this available for black, but hard to say who that favors, so probably black should play it. Plays queen c4 instead. All right, let's stabilize. Yeah, b5. I'm going to play rook back to e3. Queen up. Just playing off the clock here, folks. Maybe g5 if I get a chance. Maybe. Black wants knight d5. Play the bishop back. Go knight e5. Maybe I can get something going towards f7 and d5. Let's go queen f3. Bishop takes a5. Does that work? Take here. I'm not quite seeing the follow-up, though. Probably have a draw if I play that way, but I'm not seeing the follow-up, so I'm going to keep pushing. We're going to try to break through before black does. Now I can think about bishop a5 again, but let's just take. Because now I have a clear-cut plan down the H file. If my rook was on a slightly different square, this would work. G6. Let's try it. Maybe black will get bamboozled. So it's a deflection idea. I'm trying to take here. Yeah. I don't have to take that, though. Could go here, maybe. So if queen takes f7, and then rook e1 maybe at the end, and I'm coming over to the H file. So I don't think black can take my bishop. I think they got to move their queen. But queen e7 I take with the attack on the rook. Yeah, and this should lose. Now we're coming over. Okay, there is queen a8, I suppose, but maybe then f3 to block block queen h1. Nice. And again, I like to see this at the end of the game. That's what we're going for. Okay, so I recover from the loss in the first game, and I actually win 4 in a row. 4 out of 5 this session, and that pumped my rating up. I wasn't even really looking at the rating, but that pumps me up to almost 2850. So good stuff. Boy, my chair is super squeaky right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but probably not. Whew. Yeah, every game felt like a battle in this session. Let's take a real quick look at that first game. I think I did a pretty good job of counterattacking, but it just took me too long. So therefore, in a 3-0 game, because remember, these are 3-minute, no increment, therefore I didn't do a good job. But yeah, rook a3 was good, targeting b3. This was winning. I went for rook c8. That's probably not the most practical move. Take on a3. So actually going for the queen is unnecessary. I could have taken first. I think I actually missed on rook c8 that white can play the knight right back to c4. I think I missed that for one thing. And then here, I regretted taking with the pawn in hindsight. I think I should have just taken with the queen to keep those pawns side by side. And then I can take the bishop with check on the next move. Also, if king b1, I can go c3, threatening to take with checkmate and also c2. So that should be winning. Yeah, but as played, white managed to slip out of this. Rook c2 is my best move here. That's not a simple move. I played rook c3. That's also pretty good, but I would have liked a cleaner cut advantage out of this. Yeah, like already this is... Queen e4 is nice, centralizing, guarding the queening square, and I had issues with my king. And then suddenly it's a draw somehow. How can I save it after e6? Ooh, not even save it. I'm winning, actually. Not with that move, though. D takes e6. Yeah. But with this scenario, with this amount of time, I'm just not setting myself up for a good outcome. So probably had to play this one quicker in the opening. I actually kind of regret knight c6, because although that was a decent move to deal with the threat of e5, I think it would have been simpler to play pawn c6. And then I could still get something simpler, or something like this where I'm pressuring the pawn on f4, but I wouldn't have to unwind as carefully as I did in the game, because I felt like in the middle game around here, I was going through a lot of contortions to try to get rid of this pressure towards my rook on a8 and this knight. Like, I wasn't able to move the d-pawn safely. I wasn't able to move the knight because the queen takes a8. So still better for me, but that type of thing matters. Okay, so that game was my one loss. And then this game against Rossolimo. Yeah, I got a winning position out of the Scandi here. Yeah, white really botched this, allowing knight e5, and then they're borderline lost after this. Rook d8 is nice, because now white has issues with the two minor pieces, and rook d3 in the air. Yeah, so how was my conversion? Just checking really, really quick. I mean, the engine is completely unconcerned here, right? -5. But I felt a tickle of counterplay, and I was wary of this bishop supporting an h-pawn in particular. So, did I ever let this get out of control? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, but I saw stuff like if I play, let's say here, king d7, looks so natural. I saw bishop f8, and then let's say I keep chasing this, bishop g7, whereupon if I take, I can't stop this pawn all of a sudden. And apparently there's even rook takes c3. So yeah, I was looking at scenarios like this where somehow I get screened out from defending against the pawn promoting. So that's why I tried to quickly play g4 and get my rook over to h5, which looks okay. I mean, maybe in the moment, white could have confused the issue with rook h1. I'm sure this doesn't work, but the basic idea would be this, to try to run the pawn. But yeah, it looks like I'm faster promoting with check. Okay, so that was okay. I think the conversion arguably could have been a little faster by me on the clock, but looks okay. Game 3. That was another game against Rossolimo. Yeah, I think I made some good practical decisions in this one, in this sort of messy middle game out of the Rossolimo. Yeah, I don't play e4 too much. I'm not a big e4 player these days. However, if and when I do take chess more seriously, as in begin to study the game more, maybe even play some over-the-board tournaments, I think I'm going to start looking at e4 for white, because I've just been inspired by a lot of the e4 games that I've seen recently and how the top players handle it. I followed the FIDE Grand Swiss, the recent FIDE Grand Swiss, pretty closely, and I was just extremely impressed by how, especially some of these young players, play e4. Some of the theory makes my eyes glaze over, like all the, very slow Joko piano and Spanish lines that they play. Like, very few players are playing for d4 anymore in those games. They're always going knight c3, d3, a4. It's interesting to see that evolution. I'm not so crazy about that stuff, but apparently the engines like it. But I am interested in beefing up my e4 repertoire. I actually was an e4 player for the first 75% of my career. I only played e4 as white, all the way up through my rating of about 2300 or so. And then I switched to knight f3 as white more often. But e4 does feel like my native move, so to speak. So I'd like to get back to it. Yeah, so I think I had nice control in this position. I wasn't quite sure how to play around here. So I definitely let things slip a little bit with rook e3. Completely overlooked bishop h6. But I found some nice angles to look for counterplay on. And this is, again, what I'm getting better at, I believe, or at least trying to be more mindful of. Looks like black missed bishop d2 here, by the way. But some of these moves I played objectively don't achieve much. Like this knight f7 move. Like, what is my knight doing there? It's hard to say. But it's deep in black's camp, very close to their king. In a 3-0 blitz game, that is golden. And then when I got queen c7, and then I think knight d6 took black completely by surprise, black pretty much used all their time over the next few moves. And why didn't they play rook e8 here? Is there anything wrong with rook e8? Okay, queen d7, but then rook b8, I thought. I can take here anyways, huh? Well, what about rook b7? Oh my. I can do this. And the pawn is going to promote. The rook and the bishop can't stop it. And if queen a5, which is, if I ever calculated this far, is probably where I would have stopped on a blitz game, could be met by bishop e7. Oh my, yeah. So maybe black calculated something along those lines, but I felt like in the game they had to try rook e8 to attempt to defend the pawn, because once that pawn goes, it's pretty simple for white. But yeah, that shows the power of momentum, attacking, getting forces near the enemy king. I mean, look at the difference in where black's queen is versus where my queen was headed. The eval and black being momentarily better basically didn't matter in this one. All right, and then the fourth game, boy, I felt like I made so many mistakes in this game, and black didn't take advantage. This is the one where black played bishop e7 and then bishop b4. Okay, opening was fine. I won a pawn. Queen d5 I thought was nice. Looks like this was okay. I thought here black would double trade, bishop takes d3, knight takes f4, and just play a rook ending down a pawn. Yeah, for some reason, not for some reason, I know why I didn't like my position here, and it was because I thought black would play b6 at various times. This seemed very annoying. Because if I play c takes b6, black takes with the a pawn, and this is a pristine structure black has in the center and on the queen side, and I've got this annoying a pawn to defend. And it seems like black has a pretty straightforward plan if they want of doubling rooks and attacking that a pawn. So I was surprised and optimistic that black didn't go for that. Here I could have played knight takes d5 and then forked. Okay. Yeah, I wish I would have saw that. I think I switched things up later nicely with f4, actually. But on bishop takes g4, I think I should have used the other rook. The computer says it doesn't matter, but the point of using this is that if black goes h5, I can play h3 with this rook on h1 defending the pawn. And I want to crash through with rook takes g5 is the point. But why does that not matter? So if black played h5, h3, okay, it just says I can sack the pawn and it's no big deal. I guess I have too many forces coming over. So how did I misplay this then? Because black took on e2, allowing me to take with check. Now I'm up 2 pawns. Yeah, I still thought black maybe should go for b6. Black even allowed me to take this pawn with check, and somehow it wasn't easy. Yeah, c6 was like an instant regret moment. Okay, this I believe, h4, getting the pawn rolling right away. Yeah, I shouldn't stop to worry about this business. I need to address rook h8, because the difference in playing h4 first and allowing this scenario where my pawn has already hit the h file and I can just back it up, black's rook is going to have to go passive here, versus what we had in the game. c6 squanders over 2/3 of my advantage, according to the computer here. Rook h8 is a great move by black. I more or less have to take, and then the h-pawn's pretty important. I more or less have to defend it. And now rook h3, this move froze me. And I was worried I was going to lose at this point. I started feeling like I was going to lose because I didn't see much plan other than bringing the king over to try to free my h-pawn and lift this blockade. But that entails losing the e-pawn. And for whatever reason, my opponent didn't take on c3 first here. Although actually the engine... Yeah, okay, that's fair. If they take on c3, they are too slow. So I guess they have to pull an audible and look to get their king over. That's not so obvious in time pressure because, yeah, I think if you're black in this position, you're thinking of how you can continue to use your rook actively. And your king is pointed towards the c-pawn, which you want to win. So, okay, I can see how my opponent messed up there. So at least I belatedly got counterplay in this one with h4, but I think I was tilting at windmills a little bit too much with this whole b6 thing, thinking b6 was coming on every move. And when I finally had a chance to address it, I thought I overlooked that the circumstances had totally changed. And after rook h8, black might be even in time to draw this game. So, but as it turned out, my h-pawn was just too fast. Okay, and then the final game. Wow, it's rare that I go through all these games, but they were all interesting. Yeah, this was a Petroff. I mean, they're doing all sorts of stuff against the Petroff. Again, in the FIDE Grand Swiss, I saw some games with d4. What else did I see? Take, d6. I think I saw some knight c4, which isn't anything insane, but yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, there's all sorts of newfangled lines in the Petroff. I mean, there's people playing knight c3 and just offering to play like a 4 knights defense out of it. That's okay. I think I saw a game where someone played d3 here too, and then went for a fianchetto. Probably one of the top players, I think, as well. But yeah, I didn't feel like I got much out of this opening. The Petroff is just very, very solid. Just got a position with opposite side castling, but one where both sides' kings are pretty safe. I could go for h3, g4, some sort of kingside attack, but notice that black hasn't weakened their king at all, so it's hard to get a hook into them. Yeah, and c5, it really doesn't like my c4 move. I just played that to try to fix the pawn on the d file, make it a little more costly for black to play d5. But the engine does not like that. But this game too, the pressure that I was able to generate later was useful. Looks like black could have been more ambitious. I felt like this was all equal-ish. The computer says black's better. Well, I can play bishop takes d6 here. Wow, that's an iteration of this I didn't see. So I was looking at bishop takes f5 and then bishop takes d6, but it fails for multiple reasons. One is rook d8 with the pin, and then if rook d3, well, I was thinking knight e4. I guess queen f4 bails me out. So rook takes d6 and then knight e4 with the fork supported by the bishop, but it also fails because of knight e4 directly if black wants. So that's interesting that bishop takes d6, on the other hand, works. Maybe nothing more than equality, but there, if bishop takes f5, luring black's queen away from the defense. If queen takes d6, then bishop takes f5, and black can't recapture the bishop. And if bishop takes d3, bishop takes f8, keeping the sequence going. And then black gets their pawn back, and we have a equal position at the end. Okay. But yeah, unlikely I'm going to see all that. Okay, and black really was better here. Looks like that b5 move, they could have played b5 at various times, and that would have been a problem for me. But here too already, 30-second difference on the clock or so, even 20-second difference, whatever, 20, 30 seconds, it's starting to matter. And as soon as I was able to generate the hint of a tactical idea, like these moves all look active for black, but, you know, I'm covering c3. And then I saw, okay, black's going to have some problems on this long diagonal towards the rook on a8, the knight on d5, and also the pawn on f7. So here's where I started looking at bishop takes a5 as a deflection. But I didn't see a good follow-up after this. Let's say if black played king h8. I figured I probably had a draw, because king h8, knight f7, although that's maybe bad, because does black have knight c3 at the end? Yeah, that's a problem for my king. So maybe I have a draw with knight g6 or something, but I also felt like black might give me a better chance to play bishop takes a5. So, or bishop a5 in general. So we got into this semi-race scenario. Yeah, and bishop a5 is good. Nice. Nice. I'm tempted to see if chess.com gives me a brilliant for this move, but yeah, I mean, this isn't a particularly hard tactic to find, I would say, because anytime your opponent is relying on one defense in a position, one piece supporting a key reinforcement point or a key pawn, whatever, you should think about ways you can deflect that piece, that supporting piece. So that was kind of the cue here, to look at ways to deflect the queen. It already looked fragile for black because of the various ways in which they're just barely defending. So it felt like black was ready to crack. Hey, that rhymes. So bishop a5. I wasn't quite sure if black took actually how I was going to win this, because here this is a little bit different. Yeah, let's say king h8, because if my rook could get to the h file easily, it's winning, but I don't have rook e1 here because black takes. And I also can't afford to play something like f4 because of knight c3. And I could settle for a draw at any point. I could do this. But how do I actually win this? Knight g6. And then rook e6. Whoa. Rook e6 up the board. Threatening knight takes f8 and then rook h6 maybe? Wow. Yeah, that's tough. Let's just say queen d2 or something. Knight takes f8. Yeah, if rook takes f8, this is mate, so that only leaves this move. And rook h6 anyways because of queen h7 or knight g6. Okay, that would have been very difficult to find, this rook e6 move in this position. And that looks like one of the only moves to keep the advantage. So that would have been difficult to find. So that all stems from if instead of knight takes c3, black had taken the bishop right away. This is winning for me, but tricky. Very tricky, especially if king h8 is played. I don't know what I would have done. I genuinely don't know. I'm sure I would have thrown in a couple repeat checks, but then I would have had to decide. I could see myself maybe playing g6, but I see what the problem with g6 is too. g6 intends queen h7, but it allows knight f6. And now black is winning. The old what could have happened, the old what ifs in chess, they're very interesting to investigate. Queen b7 is another option. This I didn't see. Letting the rook hang, but the point is black has knight c3 if I take the rook. Oh, but my queen is defended, but my rook is not. So king a1. So this could actually fizzle. We just get a plain old trade of queens. And equality. Wow, that's fascinating. So what's best on queen b7? Could I move my king? I could. King c1, but better is c4. Oh my, c4. That is counterintuitive. To get black to take, which actually blocks, and then I can take, and there's no knight c3 with check. Oh, that's devious. And if knight c3 anyways, this is probably an improved version because black has a weak pawn at the end. Weak pawn on c3. Ooh, that's tricky. Yeah, queen b7 would have been nice. I don't think either of us saw this because we both saw the attack on the rook on d8. I did see, and I think I mentioned in the game, if queen e7, bishop takes d8 is good because knight c3. Oh, I didn't see this detail. I thought I could just move the king because I'm on the queen, so black doesn't have a chance to take my rook without penalty. So, yeah, and if this is going to win. But even this is a nice detail. I have queen takes c3, again, because I'm on the queen. Wow. Yep, and as played, knight c3, although creative, actually did me a favor because I recognized that I didn't have to take the knight. Oh, I should have looked at queen takes c3. And again, an iteration of this I didn't look at. But it's good I didn't play it because d takes, and then when I take the queen, I get back rank checkmated. So I played the best move, king a1. But yeah, my thinking broadly was that, hey, now I get to do what I did in the game, which is get this rook over safely because black's knight was blocking their queen from observing e1. Looks like knight g6 is winning too. Interesting, knight e7, setting up queen h5 mate. And that's winning because I can just brute force come in like this. Yeah, rook g8, there's queen h5. Okay, so there's multiple wins here, but I think rook e1 in this position is probably the most intuitive, actually. Just black's king is cut off, just get the other rook over. Get the rook to safety because black was threatening knight takes e2 and get this over. And yeah, f3, nice little move to end it. Okay, very sharp games. And like I said, it's rare that I analyze every single game on video, at least, during this using the clock as a weapon series. I give myself an A- for this session, if I were to grade myself, because I think my time management could have been better in that first game. I did get a winning position, but the time really cost me at the end. So that was the one game where I think my time management could have been better, appreciably. Maybe that fourth game where I was up the 2 pawns on the rook ending. I wasn't quite happy with my play there, but I didn't lose my head at least. Otherwise, I feel quite good about this session. So progress. All right, now I'll have to check where this puts me like all time with my rating. I think I'm probably pretty close to an all-time high. I don't play a ton of blitz on chess.com, but let's see if we can continue the good vibes in the using the clock as a weapon series. So thanks as always for watching, guys, especially if you stuck around for the analysis. There's always some interesting tidbits there. And I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye, guys.